Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I'm excited. Let me tell you why I'm excited. The first moment that not the entire New York City, not the entire New York, not the entire United States of America, but the entire world saw a 34-year-old young man, who said, I was not just talking about what I'm going to do in New York. I intend to be held accountable for working towards doing what I said I was going to do after listening to all of you who told me what you wanted. It is something called democracy. It is something called democracy. And it was funny because I was on a panel right after, we listened to the 4 hours. I listened on and off, but I listened to the last three speakers. And the panel, because I was going to be on a panel in New York, on WBAI in New York. And the panelists saw my reaction to Mandami's speech and what he had to say. And he was like, my God, I saw your reaction. I want to hear from you first what you thought. And what I thought was pretty darn simple. And I tell you what, I didn't intend to play that. But before I go into let me go and salute my people first. Welcome aboard, El Senor. Michael Rudnin was number one in the house. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudnin. Number two, Paul Fletchen. Why did you change your name, Paul Fleminger? I see it. You kind of got me a little bit confused there. From Powder Springs, Georgia, Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. We also have in the house. Michael has some starts that he wants me to play. I'll do that. We also have Paul Fleming is the name. We also have Lady Bearcat, Austin, Texas. Welcome aboard. We also have Ken Matastaki. Oh, some of you are double posted. All right. And of course, in the chat, we got Angie Decadence. Love that name, Angie. Devra Parkhurst, Cindy, Willis Cal Wood, and Charlie Doug. By the way, I am supposed to be heading to College Station to visit, the Christine, what's her name? The woman with the Epstein's file. But I don't think I'm going to be able to go because, I got sick. I'm still coughing. And two things, I don't want to pollute any of these people out there, but also I just don't feel well. So to my beautiful people in the visible that are going to be out there, I am going to be heavily dependent on your work and some citizen journalism from you that I can come out here and put out on the screen. Hopefully, some of it in real time. I'll set up something. I'll try to talk to the leader of the group and see what we can set up. But anyhow, let's see what else is there. Let's go ahead and before I get started with Mandamia, I haven't been here for a while live. Well, I came and go. So I left Brother Rudnin hanging with some of the videos that he wanted us to see. I hope these are 1 minute ones, my brother, but we'll see. I hope they're 1 minute ones. If they're not, we probably may have to cut it. Okay. But anyway, let's go ahead and do that. Bring that full and see what we got here. There we go.
For her vote to release the Epstein files. So Lauren Boebert is slamming Trump and suggesting he vetoed a clean water project in her district as revenge for her vote to release the Epstein files. And this veto certainly has revenge written all over it. Trump just used his first veto of his term to block a major drinking water project in Colorado. Boebert, who sponsored the bill, may be right that this is retaliation for her breaking with Trump on the Epstein files. It may also be revenge against Colorado for refusing to release a MAGA convict and Trump ally who's in state prison currently for trying to tamper with voting machines after the 2020 election. The veto kills funding for the Arkansas Valley Conduit, a decades-long project designed to bring safe drinking water to 39 communities on Colorado's eastern plains. The bill passed unanimously in both the House and the Senate. Republicans and Democrats all supported it. In a new statement, Boebert says, President Trump decided to veto a completely non-controversial, bipartisan bill that passed both the House and the Senate unanimously. Why? Because nothing says America first like denying clean drinking water to 50,000 people in southeast Colorado, many of whom enthusiastically voted for him in all three elections. I must have missed the rally where he stood in Colorado and promised to personally derail critical water infrastructure projects. My bad. I thought the campaign was about lowering costs and cutting red tape. But hey, if this administration wants to make its legacy blocking projects that deliver water to rural Americans, that's on them. She added, quote, and I sincerely hope this veto has nothing to do with political retaliation for calling out corruption and demanding accountability. Americans deserve leadership that puts people over politics. This also comes after Trump publicly promised retaliation against Colorado for keeping his MAGA ally Tina Peters in prison. Peters was convicted on state charges for a scheme to tamper with the voting systems while searching for supposed 2020 election fraud. Trump even issued a fake pardon for Peters recently, despite the fact that he cannot pardon state charges, and then he raged at state officials for not releasing her. Now he's blocking clean water projects in the state as retribution. The communities affected rely on groundwater that's high in salt and in some cases contaminated with radioactivity. Congress could override the veto. The bill passed unanimously, so it would only require a 2/3 vote, but that's only if Republican leadership allows it to come up for a vote. At this point, it's essentially up to Mike Johnson if he dare go against Donald Trump. Whether Trump is blocking clean drinking water to protect himself as it relates to Epstein or to retaliate on behalf of his January 6th allies, either explanation is crazy. I also want to give huge credit to Kyle Clark, a local reporter in Colorado who has been incredible in covering the story and revealing all this information. Spread the word.
All right, guys, that's a good one, Michael. That's a good one. Let's see what's your second one.
Across the United States, communities are confronting masked immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE agents, who target migrants with or without papers. While the scale of resistance is nationwide, recent actions in New York City and Charlotte, North Carolina, show what collective defense looks like in practice and how it can win. On November 29th in Lower Manhattan, around 200 protesters mobilized rapidly to stop a surprise ICE raid near Chinatown. Thanks to community surveillance and tight grassroots networks, activists learned of the planned operation in advance. When ICE agents gathered in a garage to launch the raid, protesters blocked the entrance with their bodies and reinforced their position by stacking garbage behind them. For over an hour, the standoff held. Despite police arrests and physical repression, ICE was ultimately forced to retreat and abandon the raid altogether.
We get the point. Let's go for your third. This one looks interesting.
In Colorado thought they were owning the libs. Instead, they're stuck drinking radioactive water. In southeastern Colorado, more than 50,000 people need a 130-mile pipeline to replace water that is tainted with radioactivity. The Finish the Arkansas Valley Conduit Act would have given their communities 100 years to pay back no-interest federal loans. It passed the House by voice vote and the Senate by unanimous consent. Just about 70% of the people in southeastern Colorado that needed this pipeline voted for Trump. Fefo, do you think Trump passed that bill? You'd be correct, buddy. Trump said, "F my supporters."
All right, so that is a corollary to the story. That is what happens to the people for the vote that he got rid of. Let's see the third one or the fourth one. Okay, something wrong with that one. Let's go to the fifth, and then we'll proceed, Michael. I'm doing this because, again,
for nearly 3 decades, I've been a career prosecutor. I've served during both Republican and Democratic administrations, and I've been guided by those principles in every role I've held. I continued to honor those principles when I was appointed to serve as special counsel in November of 2022. The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by grand juries in 2 different districts. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election and to prevent the lawful transfer of power. Our investigation also developed powerful evidence that showed that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office in January of 2021, storing them at his social club, including in a ballroom and a bathroom. He then repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to conceal his continued retention of those documents. I remain grateful for the counsel, judgment, and advice of my team as I executed my responsibilities. I am both saddened and angered that President Trump has sought revenge against career prosecutors, FBI agents, and support staff simply for doing their jobs and for having worked on those cases. These dedicated public servants are the best of us, and they have been wrongly vilified and improperly dismissed from their jobs. I made my decisions in the investigation without regard to President Trump's political association, activities, beliefs, or candidacy in the 2024 presidential election. We took our actions based on the facts and the law, the very lessons I learned early in my career as a prosecutor. We followed Justice Department policies and observed legal requirements. The timing and speed of our work reflects the strength of the evidence and our confidence that we would have secured convictions at trial. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Republican or a Democrat. For nearly
There you go. There you go. That's a very good one, Mr. Rudnin. All right, let's go ahead and get squarely into the program now. I think if I can probably get my screen back. There we go. All right. You said, Bruce, that you had this cold as well. How long did it last? Because, I hate it. It's stopping me from doing quite a bit of stuff. It has me tired, more tired than normal. So it's really horrendous. How long did it last for you? Anyway, I got some important video for you. This one has to do, let's see which one I'll do first. I'll do the short one first. Vicky, hey, Egberto, I signed on just as you were ending your statement of Indivisible. I do hope you feel better soon. Hopefully we can get some good pictures. You know what else I'm going to do, Vicky? I'm going to ask Cindy to put Zoom on her system so that I can actually Zoom her in and maybe do some Zoom stuff that I can eventually put over to Substack, because what you guys are doing out there is, it's so important that we keep it going. That's Vicky Ellison feedback, an activist in Kingwood, Texas here. She is one of the leaders that ensures that we are all of the times active. We're having an event on the 6th as well. I hope to be there on the 6th, Vicky. I hope to be there on the 6th. Anyway, let's see who else we got here. Joe from Los Angeles, California. Thank you for being here. As well in the chat, we got some Robert Smith, Josh Strum, Gerald Shell, Marianne Welsh, Patricia, Diana Ache, Don. Welcome aboard. All right, I want you guys to listen to this, because Americans have a tendency to suffer in silence. We have this, what they did to us is gave us this false narrative of rugged individualism. The only ones that are rugged individualists are supposed to be you. The corporations aren't rugged individualists. The wealthy people aren't rugged individualists. When they get into trouble, we bail them all out. Happy New Year to you too, Yvette Avery Herod. You know what I just remembered coming to think about it? I didn't say Happy New Year. My New Year program was taped. So let me just say, happy New Year to everyone listening. And you do know I love you all. Thank you for being here. Anyway, here's the deal. We suffer in silence, you know? There are so many Americans that are in dire straits right now. And these are people, many a times, they didn't even vote. It's not that they voted incorrectly, they didn't vote. They're so dejected, they throw their hands up into the air. You know who reached those people? Mama Danny. You know who need to learn to reach those people? Progressives and the Democratic Party. Do you see what Mamdani did right after he was inaugurated? He didn't go home with his wife and had a glass of wine. He didn't go home or go out with his friends to party and say, I won. I'm now the mayor of the largest city, the richest city on the planet. He didn't do that. He went into the ghetto to the people that put him into office. And he said, yes, I see your pain and I intend to do something about it. Here is this guy, right? Just got, I mean, this is not a poor guy. This guy come from a well-to-do family, right? But his heart is where it needs to be. He's a democratic socialist. A lot of people get scared for that word. You get scared for that word. It is time to embrace it. But anyhow, let's go ahead and by the way, anybody who has a concern with the word or the phrase, please feel free to give me a call, 281-823-7747. Let's have an active discussion about it on air, civil, on what your concerns are. I would love to hear it, right? Because it is something that is going to be used as a scarlet letter in this next election. But I think the scarlet letter would have no value if the people are educated, which is what we are doing here. But anyway, check this out. We'll take it on the other side. Joanna Scott's story is a story that will afflict millions of Americans, those that are losing their subsidies, but not only those that are losing their ACA subsidies, but also those who will not be able to afford that 30% rise in insurance that we saw this year. Another great robbery by the corporatocracy, the capitalists out there that care nothing about healthcare, but simply uses healthcare as a way of getting your money that you paid in taxes and otherwise into their coffers, a transfer of wealth engine. This woman has cancer. This woman cannot afford her cancer treatments. And remember, well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and play this short segment, and then I'll finish on the other side.
You've been speaking to people directly, Maya, about the impact on them. What are they telling you?
Yeah, Laura, they're really at a crossroads here, right? I spoke to one family who's having to pick and choose which members are actually going to have insurance for this upcoming year. Other folks are having to move in with their parents or their family members to make ends meet. And of course, there are some people who are ditching their insurance completely because they can't afford it. I just spoke with one woman named Joanna Scott. She lives in Texas. She was diagnosed with cancer last year and says her new healthcare costs would have been more money than she makes in 1 month. Take a listen to some of our conversation.
If I don't have my insurance, I literally I'm going to die this year. That's the brass tacks, unfortunately. I won't be able to afford my medication. I won't be able to afford my treatment. There's a lot of people that are being affected, not just adults, they're children. You know, there are elderly people that depend on these subsidies, that depend on being able to have insurance so they can continue living their lives.
You can really hear the emotion there with Joanna, and she told me she's fearful that she's going to be one of many people who might not even live long enough for Congress to come to a solution here. So it's very serious for folks like her.
Now, there are so many parts to this story. That little 60 seconds portion is really a huge story. Number one, the cancer treatments should not have costed what it's costing in the first place. Let's be clear here. We, the American people, educated those who discovered the cancer treatments. We more than likely paid through the NIH and other government funding for these cancer treatments. And as soon as viability is exposed, then the private sector, the capitalist sees the reason. Now, like when I call them parasites, many people get upset, but that is what parasites do. When they see the potential for success, then they take it over in its entirety. Somebody get a stipend or something here or there, and then they suck the bill to you. But that's not the only thing that is affecting our dear Joanna Scott. Joanna Scott doesn't have insurance anymore. Why? Because the Republicans have allowed the subsidies for the ACA to expire, something that she was dependent on. So now that she cannot afford that, her only solution is ultimately death or the hope that somebody will help her. Death or hope that someone will somehow step in for her. That's not the way to run a healthcare system. That is not the way to run a humane type system. But this is what America is going to live through. Joanna's story is one of millions. And here is my concern. America has an issue. I am so happy that Joanna made her statement on TV. I am so happy that many know how to use a cell phone and put it on TikTok and Instagram and Telegram and other places. But what we have to do is make sure that the masses out there not only see the suffering, but understand the genesis of the suffering, understand who caused the suffering. And yes, right now, the current instantiation of that cause of this suffering is Donald Trump and his peons not allowing the extension of the subsidies in the ACA. The problem is a lot deeper because even with that expansion of the subsidies, the price of insurance has continuously gone through the roof. Why? Because they can do it. That's why. The same way they take traditional Medicare and convert it to Medicare Advantage, government to private, and then the private suck everything they can out of you. That is exactly what they're doing. Folks, we have got to wake up. We have got to see how things really run, and we have got to learn from our mistakes. You know what? New York is a catalyst. It was wonderful to see Jodhan Mamdani come out and say, I am going to govern exactly as I told you I would. I will govern exactly as I told you I would. Because after all, the type of crony capitalist government that we have here, that is simply a parasitic entity that takes from you, that is what needs to be mitigated. Folks, we have a lot of work to do. You have to get away from the labeling. You have to get away from being scared of what they're going to call you if you support policies that are humane. It is time for us to grow up and not be used by the parasites who run our economic system. Absolutely. So, hey, Udi Deemer, sorry to hear about that. Can you give us a call now on our number 281-823-7747? I would love I would love a call from you that you explain your situation, that I can actually turn into one of those videos that I put out there all of the times. Stories like the story from this young lady that we just played. These are so important. Real stories are much more important than me saying the marginal propensity to consume of a wealthy person is high, is low, and therefore giving them tax cuts don't do anything for the speed at which money accelerates in an economic system. Again, because the marginal propensity to consume is one method in which we actually know whether a more money in the hands of a particular individual will actually make it into the economy. All of that is a lot of, it's true, but it's a lot of words. But a personal story like what she told, Joanna is losing her health care. She has cancer. She will die. You, my brother Uri, you have cancer, and your ACA was you no longer have the ACA subsidies. If you have the wherewithal to give us a call, a short 2-minute call would be great. That number is 281-823-7747. And don't be fearful or think that it's going to be difficult. Come on, you know I'm easy to talk to. If you can, I really would appreciate that call, brother. I really, really would appreciate that call. Anyway, what got me about this here, right, is most of these problems, as I pointed out several times, are going to be occurring in red states. I want you all to look at that states. Here we go. Let me pick that. Hello, welcome to Politics Done Right. Who am I speaking to?
This is Ben. He's wanting me to call in. I'm Yuri Deemer on his screen. He wants me to call in about the subject. He's asking me to call in.
I appreciate you calling in. Turn the volume down on the thing so that you can we can talk, because we're getting some feedback, and I want to query you and ask some questions.
Oh, okay. Let me turn down the volume on the. There we go. Is that good?
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. Okay, sir. First of all, you are you the person with cancer, or is your friend the person with cancer?
No, I have cancer. I've had it since 2010. It was about this time in 2010 that I was diagnosed. So and so I've been fighting it since then. I had no insurance when I was diagnosed with it. I had gone to a local doctor here that generally gives student athletes their physicals. And, being at that time of year and stuff, I just called and found a doctor for cash. I had a giant growth behind my left ear, which I thought was an ear infection. And I went in there, and within 2 minutes, he told me I had lymphoma.
Oh,
he
God.
pushed it. It didn't. It wasn't painful. It wasn't painful. He said, "Does that hurt?" And I said, "No." He said, "That's too bad." He said, "If it was an ear infection, it would hurt if I pushed it." He says, "It's lymphoma." He knew right away.
Right.
It's a lymph node grabbing up the dead cells. So he sent me to who he referred me to, some little hospital on the east side of town. And I walked in, and he told me lymphoma. I think it was $28,000 he wanted for the first procedure, which was a removal of a lymph node so that they could see what kind of cancer it was. And he said, and that's just for the room. That's not for me or the people or anything else. That's just for the room. So he looked at his assistant and said, get him on the gold card, something like that.
Right. That's here in the Harris County.
Right. That was Harris County Hospital District, and they had a gold card. And I said, oh, gold card. I had a gold card like 2 years prior to that for dental work over here on Strawberry Clinic in Pasadena. So I already had, I was already registered and all that, but I wasn't active. It wasn't up to date or whatever. So when I went to, first of all, Egberto, you got cancer. That's pretty dynamic information.
And the last thing you want is for somebody to say, okay, we can only handle this, but you ain't got the money to pay for it, $28,000. That's yet another stress level on you.
Well, I kind of had this already since I left my job came here to take care of my mother, I was on that insurance you pay for after you're off of work, whatever, like
Right.
$600 a month or whatever it was,
Right.
And so I
Erisa.
kind of went broke paying for that, and what a waste. $600
Yeah.
a month, for that insurance.
So let me move the story
and-
forward a little bit. I want to move the story forward a little
yeah,
bit.
go ahead.
So
Yeah.
now you have cancer. Now you're still getting. You're still getting treatments every so often. Is that correct?
No, I stopped my treatments after my last. Well, my last one was radiation. I had quit. I had told them no more treatments because it was making me sick and life was not bearable. I mean, and even now I have the after effects of cancer treatments.
Right.
So I told them, no, I'm not going to do any more chemo, and I was preparing to exit, and they talked me into the big radiation treatment, 24 radiation treatments. And I said, okay, we'll do that, and that will be the last I do. Now, those are famous last words because I said that about 3 times in this cancer trip. That's the last time I'm going to stop, because it's just terrible. And then, next time it comes up, well, yeah, okay, let's go. And so
Now in the chat, in the chat, you have that you lost your ACA subsidies. Is that correct?
That is correct. When I got on Medicare, I was on Medicaid for part of that stem cell transplant, and
Right.
so I was in touch with HHS regularly, and they basically handled, because that all changed over when I turned 65 and I went on Medicare and
Right.
Medicaid and
Sure.
all that stuff switched over. And they basically handled everything and would send me notifications that I might be able to apply for this or apply for that. So I really didn't actively go after any of these things. They sent me notifications that I supply. The Texas HHS people are really good at that kind of stuff, and they're very helpful if you get them on the phone. They're just overwhelmed. So I applied, and I got it. So if you accept this, you get $224 a month or something like that. Actually, what they said is Texas pays the premium. That's what they said.
Right.
And so I said yes until the renewal thing with Governor Abbott and all that stuff, and the paperwork is a nightmare, and the information was crazy, and they were flowing everybody through HHS for disaster relief. And I mean, it was Texas, our governor. I'll just say that. That's all I'll say.
They made it. They make it difficult so that most people would quit. That's why they do it. It is so difficult that you quit. Now, let me ask you. So you found out after the big beautiful bill was passed that you would no longer have the ACA subsidies for the portion that Texas is pay. Correct?
Well, I think that's when the official notification, or the death knell sounded, or whatever. But I just simply did not reapply, or I partially reapplied and never completed the application. They never contacted me to finish the application. But there was another thing on the application that had something to do with homeowner turning in your information on your home or your property,
Right.
which didn't appear before. And that was another thing that I probably would have just dropped it anyway. If Texas has always said we protect your homestead, and here was questions about your homestead.
Okay, well, let me
saying,
stop
"We
you
never
there
take
and
your
tell you what the
homestead
Big
away."
Beautiful Bill did. What the Big Beautiful Bill did is you have to requalify with your home. If your home exceeds a certain amount of money, you no longer qualify for the Medicaid portion of Medicare. Those are the people who cannot afford that 20% Medicare that actually gets Medicaid based on the income level
Right.
that they have. Well, the subsidies
Right.
it's not only the subsidies that screwed you, but also your house will actually come into play. So a lot of people who have parents in nursing homes, who have parents that they thought were there relative for all practical purposes permanently, as the prices of homes go up, rest assured that your Texas government, because of the good, beautiful bill, will come and ensure that you're giving up your house or you got to get the hell out of the nursing. There's so much that's going on there. But look, I appreciate you calling. Your situation with the subsidies is a bit different because you are on Medicare, and for Eric who believes that he made a point with the Medicare is good, Yes, Medicare is good. Unfortunately, our brother is on Medicare Advantage. Ben, look, thank you very much for your call, my brother. I mean, I am going to fix this up and put that out as well because your story is actually two stories, both the part with regards to Medicaid and the price of your home, as well as the part with the subsidies. Thank you, my brother.
That's one thing the people that go on Medicaid or have been on Medicaid don't understand is the house part of the property you have. You need to protect that.
Exactly, exactly. A lot of folks go ahead and put it into a trust, but they have to be forward thinking. I probably should think about doing that. But anyway, thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You do the same, Egberto.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
All right. These are things that a lot of people don't think about, don't know about, etc. But later on, you find out other people's experiences. That's why I tell people not to suffer in silence. But there's another piece to the story that we need to get out of Ben. Ben found that he had cancer and he had no insurance. And Ben is in Harris County. Let's talk about the good thing about the good progressives in Harris County. The good progressives in Harris County gives us what's called the gold card. People without insurance that are of need can actually get insurance through this gold card feature, right? So while Donald Trump can screw real bad with the whole country, there is some level of protection, not a lot, but some level of protections in progressive counties within Texas, Harris County, Travis County, and other counties that are led by progressives. But the rural areas, your Führer has screwed you because you can't get a gold card if you live in Fort Bend County, or let's go further. If you live in San Jacinto County, you can't get a gold card if you live in Timbuktu County. You can't get a gold card. I mean, it is the people that are hurt the most in our urban areas. Our urban folks have made sure to create structures that somehow can mitigate some of the evil done by the Trump administration. But here, if you're in a rural area, take a look at the map. I have it on the screen. The people that are affected the most by Trump's evil with his big, beautiful bill and healthcare are people in red states, red districts, red counties. Let your mother and your father and your auntie, all of them that are MAGA infatuated, know that. Let them understand that the people and they've been told. We've tried to tell them that before it occurred. They didn't want to accept it. Well, it's here now. And a lot of them will die. I don't want anybody to die. A lot of them will die. But we can start the mitigation. We can start mitigating all the evil in this year, in November of this year. But my brothers and my sisters, we have to get the work done. I have to do my part. You have to do your part. We all have to do our part. Because our friends sends those MAGA sycophants in our chat, but all our friends are not sycophants. Most of these guys are ill-informed. Many of them are prejudiced and think their prejudice won't hurt them. But there are a lot of people tell me, when I'm doing my work, Egberto, leave those people alone. Anyway, they are a bunch of racists, a bunch of country folk who want. And I tell them, you know what? But they're my brothers and my sisters, you know? And I know how these people were reared. I understand how these people were reared. And if I were reared like them, I would be them. It's hard for somebody like me to say that, who is the victim of racism, prejudice, etc. every time I leave my house. But I understand. I genuinely understand. And simply pulling back and saying to hell with them, they're getting what they deserve. It may feel good temporarily to me or to others, but you know what I understand? We need those people. If we want change, a lot of 10% of Mamdani's vote was MAGA. I'm talking about racist MAGA. 10% of Mamdani's vote. If we are able to simply say, you know what? I'm not trying to marry you. I'm not trying to be your friend. I just want you to vote in your interests, because if you vote in your interests, it also votes in my interests. That's what a lot of people don't get. I see the big picture. I'm not trying to say, I'm going to let you pay for being a racist, let you pay for being a sexist, let you pay for being a homophobe. I know it feels good, right? It feels good. Fafo, right? It feels good. And I must admit, when I watch a whole lot of these folks, I have a little side of me that says, serves you right. I'm not going to say it out aloud to them. Okay? So it is so important that I hate to put it this way, but I mean it. We got to grow up to be more than they are. We got to grow up to be more than they are, and hopefully bring some of them along. All right, I got a piece here on evangelical Christians, and then I want to close out with what a friend called me early this morning, after he read my last my last article. He was a bit perturbed, but he understood, and we understood. I understood where he was coming from. Let's go ahead and play this one here, and then we'll take it on the other side. When I speak about the portion of the evangelical church, large portion, that is supporting Donald Trump, are a clear and present danger to the American way of life, a clear and present danger, to put it bluntly, to humanity. Many people think I am being overzealous. They think I'm overboard, etc. But it's not the case at all. You just have to read the tea leaves. Well, CNN earlier in the summer did a piece with a senior pastor of the Christchurch named Doug Jones. And this guy wants to put us back into the past. This is the guy that believes in slavery. This is the guy that believes that women should not have the right to vote. This is the man that believes that the man should run everything and the woman just has to oblige. I want you to listen to this, because as I watched this, I sat back and I thought, these people treat women as discardable, but it's even deeper, because they show their what's the word? They show how weak they are. They show how vulnerable they are. They show that they are not real men. And when I say that, I don't say it in a sexist manner. I mean that they think there is something to manhood that only exists if they can dominate another woman. That's who they are. That's what the patriarchy is. That's what we have been fighting for decades, actually for millennia. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Over the summer, a new church quietly opened up in Washington, D.C., just 3 blocks from Capitol Hill. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and his family have been spotted attending church there. Now, it's part of a network known as the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, and its aim is global Christian dominion under a strict interpretation of the Bible. So in this Situation Room special report, Pamela Brown visited Moscow, Idaho to meet the pastor behind the movement.
Christchurch senior pastor Doug Wilson makes no apologies for his beliefs focus on God and country.
I'd like to see the town be a Christian town. I'd like to see the state be a Christian state. I'd like to see the nation be a Christian nation. I'd like to see the world be a Christian world.
And now Wilson's controversial views as a Christian nationalist are gaining sway in the nation's center of power with the recent opening of his new church and high-profile parishioners like Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Is planting a church in D.C. part of your mission to try to turn this into a Christian nation?
Yes. So every society is theocratic. The only question is who's theo. In a secular democracy, it would be demos, the people. In a Christian republic, it'd be Christ.
Well, what would you say to someone watching this to say, look, I'm a Muslim. Who are you to say your worldview is better than mine, that your God is better than mine?
Well, if I went to Saudi Arabia, I would fully expect to live under their God's rules.
But you said earlier that you want this to be a Christian world.
Yes.
So you want to supplant their religion with your Christian.
Yes, by peaceful means, by sharing the gospel. There's a lot of work yet to do. I believe that we are working our little corner of the vineyard.
Wilson's Little Corner, a picturesque campus nestled on the outskirts of downtown Moscow, Idaho, is growing by the day with thousands of like-minded Christians. Parishioners of his church, known as Kirkers, own and operate several businesses downtown next to liberal college town stores.
If it's true.
A big focus of his Christian movement is on a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are expected to submit to their husbands.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working journalist, and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue
for
you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Josh and Amy Prince, along with their 4 kids, moved here from Washington State.
Do you see Amy as your equal?
Yes and no, in the sense that we're both saved by grace. We're absolutely on equal footing, but we have very different purposes, God-given.
But do you see yourself as the head of the household, as the man?
He is the head of our household. Yes, and I do submit to him.
So like moving here was ultimately your decision.
Yes.
That's a great
example.
Wilson says in his vision of a Christian society, women as individuals shouldn't be able to vote. His fellow pastors, Jared Longshore and Toby Sumter, agree.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households. And I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would cast the vote having discussed it with my household.
But what if there's your wife doesn't want to vote for the same person as you?
Right. Well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
And Wilson, a veteran himself, is unapologetic about his view that women shouldn't be in certain leadership or combat roles.
Looking at the leadership page for Christ Church, it's all men. Do you accept women in leadership roles in the church and in government?
In the church, no.
Why?
Because the Bible says not to.
Well, that's not what happens in the Bible. Women do lead all the time.
Progressive faith leader Reverend Jennifer Butler is concerned about Wilson's growing influence.
He is rapidly gaining in power. He has hundreds of churches established around the country. They actually literally want to take over towns and cities, and they have access to this administration.
Wilson is part of a broader Christian nationalist movement making inroads with the Trump administration, with a newly created faith office led by evangelical pastor Paula White Cain, and people seen right outside the White House entrance praying and speaking in tongues.
We are standing on the soil of the White House, and we are declaring your word.
How precious! And now there's a monthly prayer service at the Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later the Doug Wilsons and the others.
Wilson's influence spans the globe with more than 150 churches. Wilson maintains all are welcome to his church, but he's also not shying away from his past controversial statements on race.
Do you still believe what you said back in the 90s, that there's a mutual affection between master and slave?
Yes, it depends on which master and which slave you're talking about. Slavery was overseen and conducted by fallen human beings, and there were horrendous abuses, and there were also people who owned slaves who were decent human beings and didn't mistreat them. I think that system of chattel slavery was an unbiblical system, and I'm grateful it's gone.
What he also wants gone? Same-sex marriage, because he thinks homosexuality is a crime.
In the late 70s and early 80s, sodomy was a felony in all 50 states. That America of that day was not a totalitarian hellhole.
So you would like America to go back to that?
Yep.
Wilson maintains his ultimate goal is to bring about the second coming of Christ through his work and rejects critics' claims he's trying to make the dystopian world of The Handmaid's Tale a reality.
I'm not a white nationalist. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a racist. I'm not a misogynist.
Now, he says, I am not a fascist, but I want to control every aspect of your life. I want to control every aspect of the economy. I want to control the world by making them Christian nationalists. I am not racist, but at the same time, I think slavery is okay. I'm not racist. I am not a white nationalist, but I think it is okay for others to own slaves as long as they don't do it in the very manner in which it was done in the United States with the whip and the slice, etc. But as far as owning human beings, oh yeah, come on. No problem in owning human beings. You know, the reporter, he also says he's not a misogynist, right? But of course, the women have no rights whatsoever other than whatever the man tells them they can do. This weak pastor said, yeah, I'm all for that. You know, if we are to vote, I'll discuss it with the household, but I will make the vote. Question, what about if this woman doesn't like your vote? Well, we'll have a good discussion, right? But in effect, it is my vote. This is bringing us back to the Stone Ages. And if we continue to support this, I mean, you know, a lot of things don't happen until they grow on you slowly. You see, Hegseth is now a member of his church, his version in D.C. Okay, or he attends a church at least in D.C. There, they talk about caring about humanity, but Hegseth is out there blowing up boats, over 35 of them, over 100 and something people dead. Where do you draw the line of humanity versus barbarism, which is what all of these people represent? We better wake up. 2026 is here. We are at 2026, folks. My question to you is, are we going to do all that is necessary to ensure that these barbarians do not become those who rule this country? They're ruling right now. Hegseth is going to his church. Donald Trump is being preyed upon by them. And I don't mean preyed, P-R-E-Y. I mean, well, probably both of them. P-R-E-Y and P-R-A-Y. Yeah, I think probably both of them. So we have to really hold down the fort, and we must make sure that we do what's necessary going forward to ensure that these barbarians, that these charlatanes, that these weak men, that these insecure men are not the ones ruling this country. Insecure people do not rule effectively. It's an impossibility. We've got to wake up. We got to do what's right. We got to wake up. You know, one of the things that journalists, I think, have to do is they have to push the envelope, right? When he pointed out that, yes, he supports slavery if it was done in a biblical way. In other words, not treat the slaves badly, etc., etc. That was a perfect opportunity for the journalist to say, Mr. Wilson, Doug Wilson, does that apply to, let's say your very poor uncle was bought by a very rich black man? Would it be okay? Would that slavery be okay? I mean, you have to put things in the context that makes sense to them, right? Here's the thing. One of the problems why I think white supremacy has lasted as long as it has, it's because for all practical purposes, um, white people in general, I'm not talking about our progressive white brothers and sisters who understand the word empathy, but they have not seen themselves in the shoes of somebody else, right? That is why when my friend uh, on a bike ride with me, and on the second occurrence, when he saw the treatment that I got, that's why he walked out of there, and I came outside to him crying. Because, by the way, this guy was a Republican. And that was something that he saw twice. Wasn't an offbeat thing. He saw twice. And he went outside and he's like, oh my God, it's real. It was real then to him. It was real then to him. You know, it is interesting. It is interesting. But anyhow, I want to talk about, I needed to talk. There's a good friend of mine, great supporter of mine, who texted me early this morning. And I want to read the text. I won't say who it is, but I want to read the text before I get out of here. Because, I listen to all of you guys, what you have to say. And he's absolutely correct. I want to read it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do in the next few hours, either today or tomorrow, I'm going to do a Substack live to discuss this here. But he sent me a text and he said, let me, come on, Egberto, find it. He said, excellent email this morning regarding Mam Dani. For those of you who get my newsletter, this morning I put out a newsletter titled WBAI panel why Zoran Mandami's inaugural speech matters nationally. That's what I discussed on my that's the email I sent out late. I think it was early this morning I sent that out. And he says, do you want to chat for 5 minutes regarding the word redistribution? As a pragmatic progressive, I have a thought to consider. I could write an email instead of if time allows. And when I woke up, brushed my teeth, and saw the email from him, love this guy. I looked at him and I said, can I call you now? And our 5-minute discussion turned into a half-hour discussion. But we were all on the same wavelength because his notice was correct. I want to go ahead and talk about that. It has to do with using the word redistribution. Thank you for that, Cheryl Elkins. I appreciate you, beautiful. So what I want to do is I'm going to probably have I'm going to do this on its own to discuss this, and because I want to get it right. And I was glad that he sent me that note because I want all progressives to feel comfortable with what's occurring in New York City. It is so important, whether you call yourself a democratic socialist, a progressive Democrat, a liberal Democrat, as long as you're not a neoliberal. When you call yourself all those things, believe it or not, we're all in the same boat. And the qualifications are very distinct. So I got to get out of here. But before I get out of here, I want to ask you all one important thing. Please, it's a new year. I didn't come close to meeting my quota for paid subscribers. It's hard in these days. I know a lot of people have it hard, but a lot of you can. And I want to ask you to please bite the bullet and support the program by becoming paid subscribers of our channel here, our Substack newsletter. We are not going to be able to continue doing this as we are right now without your continual support. And let me promise you, I hate saying this, but we could have been the ones that says we do advertising, we go to the politicians and all ask the politicians for a stipend. And the reason I don't do that is because no politician owns Politics Done Right. None. You do. And I'm going to keep it that way. There are many times politicians would say, here is this, I want to talk XYZ, and it'll come with an implicit that somehow I don't do that. If a politicians want to donate and become a subscriber, that's fine. But I don't do the politician thing where many of us go ahead and ask politicians to support the channel, because at that point we become owned. Right now, you own this place. You owned the way our brother could text me and say, hey, let's talk about that. That is who we are. That is who we really are. So if you have the wherewithal to do so, and if you don't, and you know others who have the wherewithal to do so, please pass the link along to a friend and tell them, in order to win this battle, we have to support the progressive movement. And the only way to support the progressive movement is support channels like mine and many others. Like I said, I support about, between 15 and 20 different small contributions, of course, but I need hundreds. So I ask you so kindly, again, please consider becoming paid subscribers of Politics Done Right by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, folks. Love you all. Got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.